What's up, motherfuckers? What is up, you guys? And this is a video that I have been saying I was gonna do. I want to say I did a part of it, and I know a lot of you guys have been asking questions like on Instagram, like DMing us or on Facebook and stuff like that, asking me questions about my relationship with my mom and why does it seem like, or why do we only really talk about her mama instead of my mama. So I mean, this is really just, I guess you could just go ahead and call this my coming out story, because
it has a lot to do with everything.
Yeah. When I was about like 10, I realized that I was not feeling guys the way I really should have been feeling guys. So, but no lie, I had a boyfriend all the way up to my senior year in high school. I had a boyfriend all the way up to my senior year in high school. But in middle school, I had a boyfriend. I wasn't really, I wasn't really showing nobody, period, that I had feelings for girls. I just only liked...
What was this?
Middle school.
Oh, I bet.
But when I got to high school, I actually did have a girlfriend. So I was a freshman and she was a senior, basically. That's how it ended up being. But I still didn't tell anybody. Like, nobody knew. Bad part is I still had a boyfriend and I had a girlfriend. I didn't want anybody to know, like nobody to know. I finally came out to my mentor after a basketball game, because I used to play basketball. I came out to my mentor after a basketball game. I believe it was my junior year. And I was just so distraught. I was just like, can we talk in the classroom? I have to tell you something. I don't know how you're gonna feel about it. But I just gotta get off my chest. And I set her down and I was like, I think I really do like girls and I just don't know what to do. I don't know. And I was like, I can't tell my mom because my family is like super duper religious. Like, it's crazy how religious they are. But she was just basically like, Sharene, I don't care. You know, just do what makes you happy. Regardless, I'm here for you. Period. So I was like, oh, that was a better reaction than I would have thought. So I still didn't tell anybody. I had a girlfriend in my senior year in high school the whole year. She was a sophomore, I was a senior. And I mean, it was just that. She was just a girlfriend. But my mom actually found out about my girlfriend before this one, the one where I was 15, she was 19. She found out about her because she was actually like my best friend, and we went to the same church, and she was like I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but she was really into her family was really into the church as well. So we also went to the same church, and we were dating for like 2 years. And she had been coming over, and my mom basically got upset and was like, you're disrespecting my household. So she kicked her out of the house and was like, you're never allowed to come back over here, period, no matter what the situation is. Which kind of hurt my feelings, but I was just like, whatever, I'm not worried about it. Like, that was the end of our relationship, Slick. Like, we just let it go or whatever. Then of course I got with the girl that I was with in high school, and her mom was very open to everything. So she knew we were together. She didn't mind me taking her out. Like, it was fine. But I went to the Army, and when I went to the Army, before I even left for my training, we had a going away party. And at my going away party, I invited males. Well, I had one guy friend, and the rest of them were all females. All of them were not gay, so it wasn't like that. But I had been like, my mom never met my girlfriend at the time. She never met her before, and she never met her mom. So it was kind of like, oh, you want to come to the party, like you want to come to this party, but I don't really know you and I don't know your parent. And my mom was like super duper strict. So my mom was like super strict about who she allowed to come over and everything like that. But long story short, my sister went and picked her up. We chilled at the hotel and we weren't in the room, like all of us weren't in the room for a very long time. And she kind of came outside and she saw me and her sitting, like, it was like a curb, but it was in between the bushes. I was a little sneaky or something now. I ain't lie. Like, when I explain it, it sounds really bad. But really, we was just sitting down talking. Like, we wasn't doing no chill out. We wasn't on that side. Like, we really wasn't for real. So, my mom flipped. Like, it was a wrap. She flipped out. I don't even remember if she even ended up staying at the hotel that night. It was like some situation like that. I think my mom was like, nah, you ain't coming in the room. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, like you can't just kick her out like this. So I really don't remember if she got kicked out or if she stayed or whatever. But all I do remember is literally we didn't talk. My mom and I did not talk for the rest of the night. The next day we didn't talk, and this going away party was like in August. I left on August like 20th or something like that. We didn't talk at all. Like, we didn't talk from that day to me getting shipped off. Like, we didn't talk then either. She literally, she knew what time I had to be at the airport, and she took me there, period. It was no bye, I love you, see you later. It was none of that. And we didn't talk. I came home for Christmas, but during the end of August and Christmas time, I didn't get any phone calls. I didn't get any mail. I didn't get really anything. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, that junk hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really, really, really hurt. Because I'm like my mom, my own flesh and blood. She didn't even want to communicate with me. She didn't want to ask me how I was feeling, why I was feeling this way. She didn't want to hear none of that. So when I got there, I was just like, I hope I get a message from my mom, somebody like that. Nobody really in my...
You skipped the part before you left. What happened? Oh, no. That was after you came back.
So during that time, I was like, okay, cool. So I came home. By this time, I had communicated with my mom like a little bit. Literally, it was like a little bit. But I came home on one of those holidays because we got to leave for like... We got to leave for like, it was like 3 days. So like, we could leave. I flew out, let's say Thanksgiving. I think it was Thanksgiving. I flew out on like Thanksgiving Day. Like that morning I flew out. Because I was in Virginia at the time. When I got there, it was really just kind of weird the whole time. But when I got there, she actually told me nothing. But we had like literally I was only there for like 2 days. So within those 2 days, of course it was the holiday and I had to go back. I had to be back by Sunday. So I got there Thursday. So I guess I was there a little bit longer than I thought. I got there Thursday. I had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I had to be back Sunday. So I had like 3 days to spend there. So during that time, I did spend time with family and friends and stuff like that. But the bad part about this whole thing when I got there, by that time, my whole family realized and knew that I was gay because my mom had actually went and told my whole family. So literally the day before I was about to leave, my mom called over like my whole family, aunts, uncles, cousins, and we all sat down and had dinner. Now during this dinner conversation, it was already awkward. Then it like switched real quickly, like boom. All right, so Sharene, what's going on? Why do you think that, you know, you're gay or something like that? And I was like, what do you mean? Well, don't you understand that's not of God? Don't you understand that that's the devil and that you are not the devil's child, you are God's child, and this, and this, and just like, I'm like, well, I don't feel like talking about this. Like, I was like, this is not the time or the place to talk about this. So I literally just got up and I dipped because I was like, I'm not feeling this. Like, I don't know what's going on, but this isn't a conversation that I want to have with my whole entire family. So I went upstairs, started packing. They called me back downstairs, begged me to come downstairs. So we go into the back room, and they're like, well, can we just say a prayer real quick before you, get ready to leave? I know you're leaving tomorrow. Can we just say a prayer? I was like, yeah, that's fine. So literally all of them just started laying hands on me, speaking in tongues, and like, it was just crazy. Like, that was, I want to say that was like the worst experience I ever had in my life, in that, like, as far as coming out, because I never thought that, don't get me wrong, I knew my family, my whole family was super religious, but I just never would have thought that they would sit me down and actually like lay hands on me, praying, speaking in tongues, like screaming, trying to pull the demon in me out. And it was just like, yo, like, is this how my family, like, is this what my family thinks of me for real? So it hurt even more. And I literally, in the middle of them praying, I was like, get off of me. And I got up, I went upstairs and I started packing. And my aunt came upstairs after me, and she said something to me. She was like, Sharene, I just want you to understand that I love you. And I looked at her and I said, no, you don't. I said, you can't possibly love me. Not after what y'all just did down there. Like, it's no way in the world you can possibly love me, and you say you love me, you continuously say you love me, but you don't love the person who I am. And it's not as if I'm a crackhead or I'm a drug dealer. I just chose to live my life the way I felt comfortable with living it. And I'm like, you can't. And I looked at all of them, and I said, y'all are the most judgmental people I've ever met in my life. And they all got offended, but I'm like, y'all are. Y'all can't possibly sit up here and tell me that you love me and all this other stuff, but ain't none of y'all contacted me while I was away because y'all knew I was gay. I don't understand how you could do a family member like that. But with that being said, after I came back, I want to say it got better, but it honestly didn't. When I came back, I was still in and out of a relationship at the time, and it was bad. I want to say a year and a half later is when I met Jerry. Again, because we met in high school, as y'all know, or as y'all may know. We met in high school, but we met again in college. And this is the time where this is the first woman my mom, like, I've ever actually brought home to my parents' family, period. Now, I must say, throughout all this, my dad didn't give two freaks whether I was gay or whether I was straight. He didn't care. He was just like, why didn't you tell me? I don't care. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, that's not how my mom took it. That's not how my whole other side of the family took it. So I was just afraid to let anybody else in and know how I was feeling about myself. So he was like, no, don't ever feel like that. And that did make me feel really, really good. And it made me feel like, okay, cool. Like, so everybody doesn't have that mindset.
But he lives in a whole different state.
And he lives in South Carolina. So it wasn't even like, I was like, yo. So I think I did. Actually, I did. Once I found out he was okay with it, and he was okay with how I dressed and everything like that, I dipped. And I went to stay with him. It was like spur of the moment. I don't remember how I got up there. I think he came and picked me up. But it was like,
I thought you said you took the mega bus or the train.
I might have. I'm not even about to sit there and pretend. I think I did take the bus. Because I was just like, oh, you accept me? Okay, I'm coming. So, but of course I came back home or whatever. And I had just bought a car when I got back, so.
Whoa, you skipping some stuff, didn't you?
So when I was staying with my mom, and we literally just kept getting into it. So she wasn't accepting me, so I left. So I ended up moving in with one of my, I want to say, close friends at the time. We were in the Army together. And her mom allowed me to stay with her. She was also gay, so her mom had already
been through the coming out stage
and
gotten over it
completely. So I had actually moved in with her for a little while. I stayed with her for about a month. And then they ended up moving, so when they moved, I didn't go with them. I went back home, and home still was not the place to be. So then I moved with my other friend, and I ended up staying with her for a while. And I actually started dating her sister. So it was cool. Like, it still wasn't any drama. Like, I was comfortable where I was. I didn't have to fear for what I was wearing, or who I had become. Not saying I was a bad person, but I didn't have to have that fear. So after that, I did move back home, but in the process of me moving back home, I know I skipped something, but this is when I met Jerry.